He's on.
It's all good.
So
So
yeah, we are currently live. We already got comments in here. We're here, Tuck. We here, Mike. Everybody checking in the comments.
yeah.
Um, Probably Trav taking off his workday drag out outfit. Listen, man. Listen, man. The way I feel right now, I might as well be out here wearing drag. I'm tired of this shit. I feel like somebody had my ass on the stroll.
We got a good one for y'all tonight, man. We got the OG up in here. One of the legends in the game, Matt Morris. Uh,
What's up, guys?
definitely put his thing on with the yellows, and we're gonna dive deep. So get your comments ready. Um,
So what we're gonna do tonight is we're gonna go through some topics, and then we are going to add questions during the question portion, just so we don't have people's questions getting caught up in the regular comments.
right.
So we'll have a question portion, but uh, first of all, we just gotta say thank you to Matt. Matt is a legend. I know that a lot of you guys haven't really been on MVF because now it's been migrated to Trap Talk. But if you go into the old MVF and you look up Matt Morris, you'll see all types of great information.
Yes,
Matt's one
sir.
of the pioneers, especially in Texas. And you've heard Pat talk about him. You've heard Bill Stiegel talk about Matt, and Matt actually helped me a lot with my first clutch and the second clutch as well. He helped
Yeah.
me out a lot with the second clutch. So I truly appreciate Matt, and I wanted to get him on so he can impart some wisdom on you guys. And tonight my kids are acting crazy. Tonight, tonight we are gonna go over lineage, pretty heavy here. And Matt says that he's prepared with his notes up. We're also gonna go through some older information that just isn't readily available. So I'm gonna let Kino get it cracking first with lineage questions because that's where we want to start.
All right, well, I'll do my best. See if I can remember.
All right. Well, getting right into it. What made you start pick the yellow from blue?
That's a good question. um, it's
Because
in my,
everybody back then was on blue, like that, like very much like it is now.
yeah,
But it was
yeah, pretty
blue was
much.
the main focus.
And I guess I've always wanted to do, um, I guess what other people weren't doing. So,
Hmm.
blues were real popular and yellows weren't. So I decided to go with the yellows. So um, I, yeah, that's basically it.
And lineage wise, when did you dive deep into it? Because we know what before you go to lineage wise, tell us how the imports were. How was it? Because right now you got people that are diss imports. You got people that love imports. But
Right.
the lifeblood of designer was imports. That's
For
every
sure.
line.
Yeah, for sure.
So can you kind of tell us what you were seeing when you were coming in, when they were
Um,
coming in? I mean,
yeah, yeah. Well, since I chose the designer route, and the locale specimens, they weren't really as popular as they are now, and so the imports were a little bit more frowned upon, especially with new keepers coming in. They're a little
yeah,
bit
it
harder to
was.
keep. Yeah, a little bit harder to keep. A lot of death after they got imported. Um, so yeah, I mean, with the designers, I didn't have to worry about that because I was always buying, very, very well established animals or adults either way, whichever way I decided to go. But with imports, you didn't have that option as much.
Okay. No, I had
So,
that. Okay.
so yeah, I mean, at this point now, with all the experience under my feet, I would do an import, and I have done imports, and and they can be done right. But it's not something I would recommend to beginners.
Right. Of course.
So I had a
So,
question about captive bred and designers. Me and Kino talked about this earlier. So back when there were designers and captive bred, were captive bred snakes being sold with lineage, or was it just one of those things where it was typically just, up for designers? And how did that whole system work? Because I don't know if it's changed as of today.
I think it has changed these days. The lineage for designers was back then. It was you had to do it. I mean, you didn't have to, but most people did do it. And it's I don't know. It was what was being done, and yeah, I mean, I don't know how to put it. That's just what was being done. It was tracking the colors and trying to figure out if there was
Mm-hmm.
any kind of, you could get one animal from a blue line, another animal from a blue line, and you'd probably end up with some nice blue. Um, I don't know how to explain it. um, the lineage I thought was important then, and I think it's still important because I mean you're standing on the shoulders of people before you, the great legends before you, people
Mm-hmm.
who did it. So nowadays, I don't think people will track it. I mean, I used to go back, 5 or 6 generations with my animals. Today, I don't think the keepers go back that far. I don't think that they care to go back that far. Maybe they do. I'm not real familiar with. I haven't bought a designer animal in quite a while.
Okay.
That goes that far back. So I'm a little bit out of that part of it. But back then it was pretty much a must.
Hey Matt, could you walk us through your first clutch? What was the pairing and kind of your experiences with it? Through like incubation and baby establishment. Maybe some mistakes or some things you
Yeah,
found out.
yeah, sure. Actually, my first breeding was a wild caught Biak that I got from a friend of mine. Um, Actually, I think I got that one from no, I sold that one to Patrick later on. I got it from a local guy here in Austin, and actually I bred it to a very famous snake that I sold to Bill Stiegel later. But Jaeger, it was a Jaeger to a Biak. That was my first pairing.
Cool.
How
And
old is Jaeger?
19 or 20.
yeah, something like that. Yeah,
Wow.
I don't have his exact date, but he was bred initially by Marshall Mendez, and then
Yeah.
he was bought as a neo from one of my best friends, Andrew Amon, who is no longer with us. He passed away a
All right.
while
Rest in
back.
peace, Andrew of mine. Yeah.
Yep, yep, that was a sad day. But yeah, that breeding was Jaeger to a wild caught Biak, and that was 2009. That was my first year of breeding. And just a little perspective, I got my first Chondro in 2007. It wasn't the same one by any means, but I'd caught the bug pretty good, so that's when I decided to try to breed them. So anyway, I got
Shout out
Jaeger.
everybody in the chat, by the way.
All right. So that was 2009, and I don't remember. I think there was 16 eggs. I'm not exactly sure. I can look it up if it's really that important.
Not the exact number, no. Just
Yeah,
realistically, anything that you remember specifically in your mind that really stood out. Because I know you remember, the first clutch and
yeah, yeah. And that was exciting. I was very nervous, trying to get the egg set up right and everything. Luckily, I had Andrew,
Yeah.
near me, and he kind of mentored me through it because he had done it the year before, and so yeah, it was nervous. I mean, I was very nervous trying to get those eggs to hatch. Always looking, tempting to look into the incubator and stuff like that. And once they hatched, I lost one egg. Um, it just went bad, like they do. And then feeding trial started, and that was a whole nother issue. I think I had half the clutch took right away, and the other half didn't. And that's kind of a good thing because it does humble you. They don't always like to eat, and you got to
yeah.
have a lot of tricks in your bag sometimes.
What are some of your tricks?
Oh goodness, you got to kind of just determine what you got as far as your neos. You got runners, you got shy babies who hide, and you got striker droppers. And you got to kind of figure out what those are first. And then once you figure what you have, then you got to see if you can get them to eat. Then you got to start trying different techniques like scenting and trying at different times of day, like in the morning, afternoon, midnight. Sometimes they like to eat different times.
Yeah.
Different scents. Chick down works great. Lizard scent, I've tried. What else? Parakeet feathers. Um, yeah, just gotta work with them, And then there's always the presentation on how you bring it into their space. You bring it. Some like it just to barely tap their nose with it. Some will strike it or get angry at it. You have to tease them sometimes. There's a lot of different techniques to it.
Well, I had another question about lineage because we talked on the phone, and we go back a long time ago, especially to the MVF days, and you can go see snakes and lines that nobody really sees anymore.
Yeah,
I was around there.
And I would like to know some of the most prominent lines that you've seen. What made them so prominent, and what do you think happened to a lot of these lineages? Like, how did they die out?
Yeah, I've got my
talk
theory.
about the lemon tree lineage too. While you in there, the Tim Termesi line.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's
Please.
very, very sad to see that one disappear. I think when Nido started hitting, I think that's when we lost a lot of things. It's kind of the elephant in the room. Nobody likes to talk about it.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think a lot of collections were wiped out, and we lost a lot of the old school bloodlines. Not all of them, but it did wipe out a good number of those animals, and they're not as prevalent as they used to be. The lemon tree line is definitely one of them. They weren't a real easy line to get established anyway, for some reason. Let's see what else.
There was a lot of infertility within that line. It's a lot of it because it was a lot of inbreeding too.
But I that's what I think is a misconception. I think that the people who were doing them, they're still learning a little bit. I don't mean to say that they didn't know what they were doing, but there's just a lot of techniques that we do now that we wouldn't have done back then.
Like what?
I think that they were kept too hot, fed too much, things like that. I think the eggs may have been done wrong as far as temperatures, humidity. I don't know. I mean, there's just this is speculation on my part, but that's kind of what I think happened to that lemon tree line. And there was, I did a bunch of research on it as far as who had them, and Termesi was definitely got those things started, and he sent them out to a few breeders, and then they started going from there. I think that I don't even think there's any left right now, not to my knowledge. I think
he has. It's a few, but it's like it's not a lot of percentage in the line.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Nothing's pure. There's no pure ones left, I think.
But it's very. I don't even think I've seen 50%.
Maybe, yeah. That would be a good one, but I don't even know that. I don't even know who has them anymore, other than Buddy Buscemi, and I don't know if he even still has his animal. And I think that was the last 100% that I knew of. So,
okay. Could you tell us just to? I was going to add to it, but go ahead. If you're not going to add, go ahead.
Yeah. So my question was about the Black Pearl line and guys like Rob Worrell and what's the other guy's name? Eugene Bassett. And like what was going on in those days as far as some of the lineage, the lines that they were kicking out, and how were they received, and just things like that.
And I'm
Yeah.
still in my questions, man. You know what I'm saying? Did you come over here and read my paper, man?
I didn't read your paper, bro.
Man, look, man. Go
Uh,
ahead, man.
well, Eugene Bissett, I mean, he's definitely a legend. He produced a lot of chondros. Between him and Trooper, they were good friends, and they produced a lot of green trees. The Black Pearl line, that was Rob Wolf. That was his doing. That was his line, and
Yeah.
Rob was credited for discovering ovulation. He's the first one to really kind of document that and figure it out, which is
Shout out to
very
Rob.
common that we do these days.
Shout out to Rob.
Yeah, definitely. Black Pearl line. Those came actually from zoo stock, I think. From I have to look into my notes to find that, but he basically started breeding. He had one high yellow line, um, which I think was Noah Chloe.
Yep,
And,
it's Chloe. The Chloe Noahs. Yep.
yeah, and I'm gonna have to look for my notes on that one.
Hey Matt, what was your method of keeping notes while you're going through it?
I did a lot of stuff off of MVF. I took a lot of screenshots, a lot of just cut and pasting, keeping notes that way, especially when it came to breeding and eggs, um, gestation time, incubation temperatures. I dug through all the archives and just picked out everything I could, and then tried to put them all into my notes. And that was a huge thing for me to fall back on, and that helped me many times throughout my
Yeah.
breeding, because I still have to go back to those sometimes,
Nice.
just to find out. All right, so I'm gonna look, see if I can find this.
The Chloe Noahs were crossed with the baby doll blood. So I think he called the baby doll.
Yep.
The baby dolls were known for like throwing black, but Rob explained that he had never went for the color. He was always about huge sizes,
Yeah.
which lead me to think that a lot of those animals that you guys were dealing with, like when the first importation was really hidden, that the ones that like laid the ground, I think you guys got a lot of a hold to a lot of the PNG stuff before the borders had closed.
Yep. Yeah, he did, and his comments on how big he wanted his animals is a little controversial these days.
No,
And
it's a little bit outlandish. Some of it is, but I think he was like where he was like far this way, and it got to the point where new school keepers were far the other way to the point where they were barely feeding. I think I think as a whole, you got to be somewhere in the middle, kind of towards lean and Rob, but you can't be. I think you never go full Rob.
Don't
And I
go
love
full
Rob.
Rob.
And I
Don't
love
go
Rob.
full Rob.
Nah, you
Oh
can't go
man.
full Rob.
Okay, so the Black Pearl line was actually Jasper and Sapphire, I believe. And the Noah Chloe,
What's up, Jason?
that was more the high yellow line. That's
Mikey,
what
we're gonna get the questions during the question part.
Say that again, Matt. What'd you say? I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm just saying that the Black Pearl line was Jasper and Sapphire, and that was
Yes.
all.
Yeah.
I'm looking for my pedigree.
Jasper.
So
Remember his animals had
they
real pronounced snouts.
yeah, they all came from. They were all Cincinnati Zoo animals. That's where all of them came from, for the most part. That's where he started.
Yep, Cincinnati Zoo.
Yep.
How were you guys infertility rates back then?
Saving it.
And
Yeah.
I guess that would have to do with the incubation method too. Can you kind of put that together with break down your incubation method back then?
Right. My incubation, I did a 31 degree, I think it's 31 degrees Celsius straight bake. I've always done straight bake. I know there's a lot of people who do, they'll do, one temperature up to a certain point, and then the last 2 weeks they'll drop the temperature a couple degrees after they start dimpling in. I've never had an issue with that. I've always done straight bake, and I've had mixed results. I've had 100% hatch, and I've had half the clutch die, and I don't know what that's related to. I don't know if that's temperature. I don't know if it's something else that happened along the way. I never really had any infertility that I've had has usually, and I'm pretty sure it's the male. I can't guarantee that, but my last 2 clutches, I inherited a couple of Andrew's males when he passed away, and for some reason I can't get fertile offspring from those males, and they've been crossed. They've been bred with proven females that have produced fertile eggs in the past. So,
Could you walk us through how you cycle your animals temperature wise?
Yes, I used to do temperature cycling. I used to, do a 10 to 15 degree drop in the fall, because here in Texas, it's you got to wait till the fall before you can get some cooler temperatures. But I used to do it that way, and I had fairly good success. And then within the last 5 years, I've gone to food cycling, and I've had just as much success with that as I did temperature. So, I don't know which one you want to do. It's up to you. But I like the food cycling better. I think you have less risk of getting an RI.
How are you food cycling?
So basically, what I do is I won't feed my animals for 3 months roughly. I won't feed them a thing.
Wow.
Just make sure they have clean water, and
this is during the summer months.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
I try to time it where I'm breeding around the fall time. October, November.
Yeah.
I could probably do that. I could probably do the same thing any time of year, but that's just what I do. It kind of gets, I do a lot of colubrids, and the summer egg laying season and hatching season is really busy for me. So it kind of gives me a break from those once I have those eggs hatched and everything, and then I can focus on my chondros a little bit more. But the food cycling, so I'll do 3 months, and I'll probably do a month without food, or 2 months without food, and then I will actually put them together for a little while and just see what happens for that last month. And then during that last month, I'll also separate them about every week, and I'll give them just one small meal. And then at the end of that 3 months, I will actually feed the hell out of them, but very small meals. Sometimes twice a week, I'll feed them like a medium mouse, just a small meal, but I'll do it more often. And
Okay.
that's pretty much, until I see, and I'll keep putting the male in there, and until I see her ovulate, I'll keep doing that.
And there's no night drop year round, or no night drop at all during breeding attempts?
Yeah, I have a standard 10-degree drop on my system, but here in Texas, I really don't get that in the summer. In the fall, it does kind of kick in a little bit, but it's not much.
So you are dropping, depending on the season, you are dropping something every single night year round?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
If it even gets that low, I don't keep my house real cold. I probably, coldest it gets is probably 74, probably.
Right. And what temps do you attempt to achieve underneath your heat panels at night? What are you shooting for?
I've got 85 as high as I go.
Okay. And that's at night drop, or is that daytime?
Daytime. Night
Daytime,
drop,
okay.
I'll probably only drop 5 to 7 degrees. I think I did say 10, but I don't think I go that low anymore. I think it's a 5 to 7 degree drop.
Okay.
78, 77, 78. Okay.
And how long have you been keeping like this?
Something
Because this
like
is, if I'm not mistaken, this is not a method of the past that,
Nah.
I feel like the night drop year round is possibly a more modern type of keeping of them. When did you start to do that, or did you share with others, or there other OGs that kind of did the same?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I basically, there wasn't a lot of people doing it. I guess I did it since I've been doing this since '97, so I guess probably 2005-ish. I guess I started doing that. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Most of those places, there is some kind of temperature drop. There's no place that I know of that
Yeah.
stays the same temperature night and day year round. So it just made more sense to have a night drop. It seemed more natural to me, whether it is or not. They're in a box right now, so how natural is that? But we
Yeah.
try to get a little bit
No,
of temperature.
to my knowledge, y'all did back in the day too. It was just different. Whereas we measure it more, as opposed to you guys had lamps and y'all just cut the lamp off. That's really what it was doing back then. Some people open their windows.
Well, I've always had radiant heat panels. I
You
never
always
had
had
them.
ready even apples, even back at the beginning.
Yep. Well, as long as I've
Nice.
been doing it, yeah. So.
Okay.
hmm Yep.
Yeah, old MVF days, they used to have they had a little bit of everything.
Yep. Yeah. Yep.
So I got some more questions about
Yeah.
the
Go for
old
it.
MVF days. So I can go back and see some of your posts, and like what Kino was saying as far as some of your techniques went as far as keeping. We did see some strange things in the old MVS posts compared to today.
Yep.
But also some of your posts about things like cleaning, and I can go look at other people who are really active in the MVF. So my question is like, what desire did you guys seem to have about getting information out? Because if you read the old MVF posts, it's a lot different than the Facebook posts, where it seemed like guys were actually trying to get together as as a unit and trying to figure out the best way. And I've seen that you guys argued in there,
Yeah.
but was
It was there. Yeah, the argument was there. There was a few egos in there. Not like today on
A
Facebook.
few.
Nothing like that. But yeah, it definitely more of a community that wanted to help people learn and help other people. At least that's the way I felt. I felt that way. And I did not. I mean, it took me once I joined MVF. It took me probably I kind of sat back and just watched for a year, and then it probably took me after I got my first green tree. It took me another 6 to 7 months before I even did my first post. It was a little intimidating, I guess, because there was so
It
much
was it was
knowledge
very
there.
intimidating.
yeah, y'all
Because
were
they
hard
used
on
to
each
they
other.
would show off, and man, look, it was like if you was a newbie or if
Yeah,
you tried to get over on somebody, they would not let you have that shit.
yeah, no, not
No. They would jump on your
yeah,
ass in there.
yeah, it was there was definitely some fighting, but I think there was a lot more respect for the guys doing it. That's just my take on it.
So also as far as some of your posts like cleaning and maintaining animals and things like that, did you guys ever like collaborate on posts? Because it seemed like that's kind of what was happening. Like looking at some of those posts in MVF.
Yeah, I guess you could call it collaboration. I think that we were just we're just putting out ideas, different ideas, and in a uh, it sounds funny, but in a safe space, I guess, compared to like Facebook these days, where you
Yeah.
get ripped. We were just putting out new ideas. It wasn't oh, that's wrong. You shouldn't do it that way. At least that's the way I
Yeah.
felt. It's more of a, oh well, I do it this way, and oh well, hey, what, he does it this way, so maybe I'll try that, or something like that. I don't see that as much on Facebook these days. Um, but you know, it was definitely different, definitely different.
It was. See, that's why we made the bar room. So try to
Yeah,
give you that new school perspective with that old school season every now and then.
nice.
One thing we do one thing we gotta have a heavy reverence for the OGs, the people who done it before us, whether some people get controversy with them or not, or whether they got egos or not.
Yeah,
I think you can learn a little bit from anybody that's put
yeah,
on and did so much before you, man.
yeah. I mean, when I was toward the end of the NDF, I collaborated with David Newman, and we made that the Green Tree
It's a
Python
big
guide,
name.
and we did
I got
that.
some. I got some. I just bought some enclosures from David. No man, he about 40 minutes away from me.
Yeah, cool. Um, he and I mean, we just, it was kind of my idea, but I couldn't do it by myself, and I wasn't very good with words, but he was, and so we kind of collaborated. We kept getting the same questions over and over, and I just decided, you know what, let's put it out there, and we can say, hey, you know what, this is all covered in chapter 1 of this guide. Go here and read this. This is for newbies. It's a great starting point. And at the time, I thought we did a pretty good job. A lot of things have changed since then, and it needs to be updated. But I don't have the time, so hopefully somebody will take those reins and do it. But that's why we created that guide. It really helped a lot of people. You got a lot of hits on it.
Yeah,
True.
especially your feeding guide, the feeding guide, and the cleaning guide.
Yep.
Those
Yep.
are very helpful. I don't know if anybody is has the Tap Talk app, but you can go in there and see some of that information. And like as far as things goes with the old MVF, it seemed it seemed like you guys had a genuine brotherhood slash sisterhood in there.
Yep.
And we're kind of lacking that now.
Yep. People were calling, the jokes on some of the other forums and stuff that we were elitist and things like that. But I kind of get that. I can see that. But you're talking with a group of people who really care about their animals, and they want to see them done right.
And
Yeah,
it's a group of animals that's not easy to breed.
exactly, exactly.
So I understand too. Now you got the chip on your shoulder. I understand that.
It's all good. It is what it is. So, but we cared about the animals. We wanted to see them done right, taken care of the right way. And if we came across a leak, and that's the way it was.
Are there ways that you kept in the beginning that you've since changed to how you're keeping now?
A little bit. I definitely ran higher temperatures in the early days. I don't anymore. Um, I don't feed nearly as much. Um, I'm not one of the people who says that, because I know that there was a big negativity on feeding rats. I don't believe that. I think if you can feed rats if it's done right, um, any feeding done right, um, is that's what's changed with me. My feeding is the main thing, and the temperatures. Substrate. Um, I used to go with a cypress mulch substrate. I have changed that a little bit. I still keep I can do newspaper and sometimes, but I will do cypress mulch, but I'll put newspaper on top of that because I've got a couple of females that just will strike at shadows when you walk by at night, and they'll hit that mulch and have a
I
mouthful of
hate
mulch.
that.
And putting that newspaper on top of that eliminates that a lot.
Hmm.
But you can still keep that substrate moist when needed.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Yep. And the other thing is moisture. I don't keep my cages nearly as wet as I used to.
Okay.
You missed in, I guess, 2 to 3 times a week now.
Um, it depends. I may have to. No, you know what? I don't. Two times a week if I'm doing newspaper, and it also depends on summer or winter. Um, in wintertime, we sometimes do a fireplace, and that fireplace really sucks the moisture out of the air. Summertime, we run an air conditioner, and that sucks the moisture out. And so,
Both of this, yeah.
and that's going to be everybody's problem. Depending on where you are, you're going to have to figure out how long it's going to take. Between misting or whatever you do.
Yeah, I'm in
So-
Chicago. We got like 2 different years. It's like two different cities when the weather hits.
Yeah.
You had
Like-
2 different cities in the last 2 days, didn't you?
Man, it went from 85 to like 38. It was Saturday, it was 85, and Monday it was 38 degrees.
Yeah, the temperature here is like flip flopping, trying to figure out when it wants to be just hot as shit. And where I live is really arid, so I have to use a humidifier and mist. But the combination of make the humidity too high. Like I've gone out in the garage and the humidity last week was like 80 something. I was like, what the fuck? The floor was wet and everything.
Yep. And I have done that. I've put humidifiers in here, and it definitely helps. Definitely helps.
So I had another question about.
My fault,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
So about personalities, and like where these guys have gone. So we talked a little bit about Mark Robinson and some other people. Like, what do you think happened to a lot of these older guys? Like, where did they go? Did they just retire and get out of green trees? Did Nido hit like a large part of the previous generations and they just left?
I think it's a little bit of everything. I mean, I've seen.
Did people notice Nido in their collection, then sell everything, and then tell nobody?
I hope not. I hope not. I think it's a little bit of both. I think that some guys get burned out and they leave it. Sometimes they return, sometimes they don't. I think that the Nido, I know a couple of big breeders that probably got it and did not come back into it. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it.
So while we talking about Nido, how was y'all quarantine back then? Like when you got a new animal, say you went and got it from that show and you got that new Eugene Bissett or whatever. When you took it back, how was you guys quarantined then, collectively, and then yours?
Yeah, everybody was different. Some people, some of the more experienced people would do that. I know that from my point of view, I didn't know about it. I didn't know about quarantine. I mean, and I didn't hear a lot about it. There were people doing it, but it wasn't talked about a lot. When Nido hit, and it hit me bad. I got it, and it wiped out 99% of my collection.
Damn.
How many snakes?
18.
That hurts.
10 years worth of collecting high yellow bloodlines.
Oh man.
I lost almost all of it. So yeah, it sucked, say the least. Yeah, you talk about depressing. I almost got out of it. I really did. But
and people think Nido not real.
Yeah, but after that, I did keep a few. It seemed to affect the females more. Matter of fact, yeah, I had 2 males left.
Specifically during breeding season, you think that's when it affected females?
Exactly. Once they got stressed from the breeding season, Nido kicked in. As a once their immune system was compromised in any way, Nido just jumped in and wiped them out very quickly. And with that happening, and one of my snakes was actually in one of the university studies when they were first doing that. So it hopefully helped a little bit, as far as research. But the protocol that I adapted after that was, I was scared about spreading it, so I had a separate set of tongs for each cage. I never shared. If I didn't eat, if a snake didn't eat a mouse, I wouldn't feed it to another one. And
Yeah.
previously, I would have.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where a lot of people went bad with it. By
Yeah.
sharing.
That was happening a lot back in the day too. Yeah.
Yeah. I wore gloves for a while until we learned a little bit more about the Nido, which is actually it's a fairly easy virus to kill with the right protocol. But the the way I did feeding, the way I cleaned, the way I did water, all that changed, and it's what I do now to this day.
So
And
let's talk about the protocol you just said.
right.
Something about how it's easy to kill Nido. Explain that to me.
Basically,
To
from
us.
what I understand, Clorox or Lysol, any of that stuff will kill it pretty easily. So I'll sterilize all my tongs. Um, I have a
Oh, you
jar.
meant from surface contact.
Yeah,
Okay,
yep,
okay.
that too. I used to use. We have real hard water here, and I get a lot of lime buildup on the side of the cages, and I would use vinegar to every once in a while to use to get away to have that lime dissolve and clean the cages better. But vinegar doesn't kill everything, so I was using vinegar to get rid of the lime and kill some of the bacteria. Then I'd come in and I'd use Lysol, and then I'd use Clorox, and sometimes I even change it around and then go with F10. So I was using a bunch of different sterile, disinfectants to help minimize that.
Yeah, your cleaning guide displayed that a lot and like your reasonings for using certain products for cleaning. And if
Yeah.
you guys haven't seen it, that's a great guide. So I got another question. Is in particular to Nido. So like as Nido as most of us see it, most of us didn't really see Nido in this generation until Fishhead arrived.
Right.
So before that, like, what was the lead up to people like whispering about Nido, to people actually confirming Nido? Were there posts about it? And how did the community get to the point where they actually had to all agree that Nido was around?
um, that's a very good question. Um, I
That
don't
is.
know. I don't know if there was ever. I think it was a slow realization that it hit, and once they figured out, what it was, uh, people kind of went, "Oh shit," you know.
Man, for real.
And I think it was kept hidden by a lot of breeders at first. Um, I know firsthand and I won't name any names, but um, they were aware that something was going on. They maybe didn't know it as Nido, but they knew something was going on, and they still got rid of animals, to other people.
Mm.
So, whether they really knew about it or not, I think they did, but it's just my speculation. Um,
They knew something was going on though.
yeah, I think so.
Like you said, you pay
Yeah,
attention to these animals. These not cheap animals. Even back then, they wasn't cheap.
yeah,
To keep them wasn't cheap. You know what's going on if something's going on.
yeah, yeah. And I think some big collections really, um, I think they got hit hard, and I don't think at first they knew what was going on. They really didn't. They were just losing animals right and left. And they may have just, said, "Hey, you know what? I'm losing animals. These are sick. Here's some good, here's some somewhat healthy animals. Here, take them, get them out of here,
Hmm.
and spread it that way." That's how I got it into my collection. Um, from somebody selling an animal that was positive. I didn't know it at the time, but that's how I got it. After backtracking, the history. Yeah, I mean, how much was known to me, I don't know. I think they knew something was going on. They just didn't know what.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Can you give us a time frame of when people like started acknowledging Nido was prevalent and attached a name to it?
I don't remember the exact. It's a dark spot in my head, and so I try to ignore it.
I understand. We apologize for making you relive this.
No, but I think it's good.
18 designer snakes. That's a lot. I'm still,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm still hurt by that. It ain't even mine.
It still hurts. I'm looking here, seeing if I have any of these dates.
There's info people need to know though, from people who've been through it generations before us.
So in 2017 is when I put a Nido virus summary onto MVF, and then you can probably find it if you can get back onto MVF.
I've seen it.
So 2017, that's right in the middle of when I had it. So I think I had it till 2018. I think is when I had my last symptom. So
wow, so that was pretty fast that all those animals had passed.
Yeah, real. Once you get it, I never did test them, but the males that I don't have them anymore. I have since passed them on to another person who had a Nido positive female, and I gave him that male. But they can be asymptomatic. They can still carry it and not show signs. And I think this is just my speculation. That within green tree pythons, I think the males can carry it better than the females, just because they don't stress out as much.
Especially during breeding season. It's just they go with the flow.
Yeah.
So you saw it impact your females more than you did your males?
Yep.
What are some of the physical defects you saw in females, and then the males too? The males that did show it that were symptomatic.
Yeah, the main thing that I saw was they would get a bunch of saliva around the mouth area, real thick mucus. It would crust up, and they would have a bad cough. Now there's several strains of it, and what I saw may not have been what you would see if you had a different strain. But that was the main thing that I saw in mine. And they would eat up to for a very long time before they passed away. They wouldn't. One of my males, he ate until about 3 weeks before he died. So they would keep eating for a while. Not all the females did that. Sometimes they would shut down eating, but it wasn't all of them. That was the main things I saw.
Damn.
Yeah, so I after dealing with that, like I said, I almost got out of it. What I did, I kind of went back to what I was doing originally before green trees, which was colubrids. So I got some really nice Okatee corn snake and was playing around with those. I got some Mexican black king snakes. I actually got back into Amazon tree boas as well. So I just kind of went a different direction for a little while, and that helped me a lot.
I was about to say, but you had a Sarong clutch last year in 22.
Yeah.
So tell us about that. How'd you get back in? Who kind of drug you back in? And then explain the events leading up to your clutch that you just had.
Well, that wasn't my first one since the Nido. I had another one, a couple more actually, but I'm addicted. I love them. I don't think I could ever really get rid of all of them.
That powder, you can't let it go.
Powder. Lieutenant Dan.
Yeah, I basically set up another room. I had my Nido animals, my 2 remaining ones. I had them separate in a separate room, and then I started rebuilding my green tree collection in a different room. So that's how I got that started, and I slowly acquired, and a lot of them were locality. Um, I picked up an Aru female who's been great for me. She's been great through all this. She's actually one that she was actually in a separate room during the Nido thing, and so I never did lose her. Um, the and then I just started acquiring different ones as they came up. Biak here and there. I've got I started getting into some Kofiaus. I picked up a Kofiau from the Rico Walder auction, and that female stayed in Florida with Chuck Vogel, and he bred it with one of his males, and we had babies from that. And that
Nice.
project is still going on at his place.
Yeah, shout out to Chuck Vogel. I know he just had some problems with his health, but he's still
Yeah,
pushing, man. He's still
yeah,
pushing.
he's had some health issues, but he's still in the game and still plugging away at it. So that's how I started working my way back up. I did pick up a pair of sarongs, and as you said, they did produce. However, I had about half of them hatch, about half went bad about halfway through. Half of them hatched, but I could not get them to eat. I've never had that problem before. I could not get them to eat for the life of me. Feeding them tails and everything, and I finally. And this is somewhat controversial. Some breeders do it. I know Rob Worrell would do it, but
Put the whole clutch in the freezer.
yeah, exactly. I could not do it. I did not want to pass that along, and I just put them in the freezer. That's what I did.
Well,
Yep.
I
Yep.
understand with stubborn feeders.
That's
Trust
that
me,
old
I
school.
understand.
That's that old school perspective, man. I understand it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I understand. It's a difficult thing
Yeah.
to make decisions like that.
It
Personally,
is.
it's one that
It
I
is.
haven't made, but some of them, like I don't know if they will ever eat, and I think that they just get weak and they just die from other stuff.
Yeah, and there's the school of thought that you're going to pass on a bad eating bloodline. There's always that school of thought. I do
Yep.
think that I do
Yep.
think that once you get into second and third generation F1, F2, F3s, as you progress down that line, they become better
Right.
eaters.
Yeah.
And I know that's true with gray bands, and I've seen it with gray bands that way, and I'm sure it's the same way with green trees.
So when when you first got into green trees, you went designer. When you came back, you went locality. Why the switch? What made you change? Why didn't you come back to the heavy yellow?
Because of the money.
Hey, keeping it real.
Yeah. Honestly, I mean, to get back in the designer game would have cost me a small fortune. And if I had gotten Nido again, I'd be in that same position, and I wasn't ready to go there.
The prices have skyrocketed since the MVF days. Remember, you had like yellow Neos from designer high, like super designer pairings for like $600.
Yeah.
Like the highest red, I think, was like $1,500 back then, $1,200.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's 10 grand.
Yeah. 10 grand for an animal that can't breathe. There's all types of issues. There's all types of issues going on with some of these
6, 7
designer
years
animals.
old.
The animal is like 5 years old and weighs like 200 grams. Yeah, I've seen all types of issues, but people are paid for those super packed genes. But I think that what you were saying about a lot of those lines from back in the day, they just couldn't survive like that genetic wise, because a lot of those animals don't seem like they really wanted to breed. And if you go through the process of breeding these animals and you only get 6 eggs, and let's say that you just want to sell them all, like that's only 6 eggs that year of that particular bloodline.
Yep.
So like they just go away.
That's another
It's
thing.
sad.
Yeah, that's another reason why I diversified. I've got a lot of other species now, and I'm not as stressed about having one or two chondro clutches and worrying about them all living. You know, I've got other eggs to
Yeah.
worry about now, so it's kind of a just a little bit of diversion and a stress relief actually from putting all my eggs in one basket, so to speak.
So in the old MVF days, we it was a lot of big number egg clutches. It
Yeah.
was a lot of 20s.
Yep.
Yeah.
What do you think your reasoning was? I mean, what's from your perspective? What was the reasoning behind that? Because it was a lot of it was 30. It was a lot of 30 egg clutches back then. Well, not
Yeah.
a lot, but it wasn't
Rob had a
as
few.
it wasn't as abnormal as it is now.
Yeah, I agree, and honestly, I don't know. I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's I don't know if it's line bred stuff. But
Socrates just had a 31 egg clutch
yeah, I know,
out
I
of
know.
Rainbow Dash.
Um, it, I have no clue, honestly. I really don't. But it has
Because
changed.
it's so abnormal now. It's like every
Yeah.
now and then you see it, but back
Yeah.
then it was like 28, 25, 26, 30, 32.
Yep. You are correct. I don't know. I do not
Rob,
know.
what was the feed that they were giving the rodents you were buying maybe back in the day, as opposed to how different it is, to the Missouri food that good breeders are feeding their rats now?
Um,
Were they feeding them kitchen scraps?
I don't.
Real food.
I don't know. I don't. I mean, I know that a lot of people use dog food for feed. Um, I mean, I breed my own mice, and I use a commercial food, and I supplement it with sunflower seeds and oats, whole oats. But that's what I do for my animals. But I still have to supplement that with, you know, big manufacturers who do the rodents, Big Cheese or Rodent Pro, somebody like that. But I don't know what they feed or how they feed it. There's always speculation on, are they really meeting the right dietary needs of those mice? Um, I don't know. Um, I don't have a good answer for that one.
Yeah, I've noticed my local breeder now, a new rodent guy that I just got. I've noticed that the rodents I get from him are incredible compared to the ones I've got from some of the big box stores online that send you the $30 flat rate shipping, and he drives for premium Missouri feed, and they really do. They look like almost like pets. I mean, they have a fat layer on them. They're actually very healthy animals. They don't look really deflated, like the ones you'd get in the mail.
Right.
It's incredible,
Yep.
honestly. I pay a little bit more, but it's worth it because the guy really he gives them to me within 5 grams of whatever weight I want within that range of the size.
Now, is he only feeding like the commercial feed?
Yeah, he drives. He drives away to some special location to get this very specific Missouri feed that he really likes his animals on, and like I
Okay.
said, they're healthy as hell.
Yeah.
So we'll see if I benefit from that because I just switched to him a couple months ago.
Yeah, and I can guarantee that the commercial feed today is not the same as it was back then.
Correct.
But as far as what people, private breeders would feed, I've got no clue. I know the big breeders did do the commercial food. The private breeders, who knows?
So we're at an hour. We're gonna start letting y'all get your questions in. The first question is gonna come from K Zodix, the bald head dude.
And
So
hard.
fake ass Aaron Hall. I miss you. All right, so his question is: I don't own a GTP. What advice would you give a beginner as far as who to buy from, what kind or locality to go for, et cetera, et cetera? It's an open-ended question.
If I was going to go with a private breeder, I would, well, you got to figure out what you want to do, if you want to go locality or you want to go designer. And then, I mean, coming from a private breeder, you're always going to have a better animal. You're going to have good support if anything, happens with him, like when you get it and it doesn't feed, which is a very common occurrence. You're going to have that support from that breeder. As far as size wise, really depends on what you like. I personally think an animal that is 6 months to a year old is going to be a much better established animal, and you're going to have less issues with it. If you want to watch the autonomic change, you get a younger animal. For localities, some depending on what generation they are, some can be really poor feeders, but if you buy that from a breeder, that it should already be established. For the most part, it's not like getting a Neo from the same locale from an importer. Who knows if it's going to feed or not? So, what was the rest of the question? Sorry.
That was it.
Okay.
The rest of the question was, don't breed 75% of roos as your first clutch because they're fucking horrible feeders. I'm still pulling my hair out. These things suck.
Yeah.
I thought you said they were established.
Nah, Gucci Bags is a dickhead. He won't feed on his own yet. I'm still shoving rat's tails in his mouth, and he took a pinky, but the pinky's tiny as shit, so I'm just waiting for him to prolapse. And then
have you got him feeding yet?
Majority of them are feeding. Yeah, one just left here that had I think it was 18 meals, but it was crushing fuzzies, and it was like he's an animal. And actually, I'm waiting for my buddy who picked it up. He drove here from Ohio to New Jersey. I'm just waiting for him to let me know that he fed it the first meal. He said every time it opens the tub, it's luring and coming out like it wants to eat. So
that's a good sign. Yep.
Yeah, most of them. And Trav was basically like chewing my ear off, saying, "Get them on fuzzies, because I had a lot of them that were consecutive pinky feeders, like 10 consecutive meals. Yeah. And I had one of them prolapse. I switched it over to so I took another idea from Travis, and I got a Polyvesol Enfamil multivitamin for infants.
Okay.
And injected mouse drumsticks as mouse legs as the first meal, just to get some nutrition in it, because I believe that prolapses come from malnutrition. Talking to a lot of guys, so I got the mouse legs in them, and then went right to rat's tails, medium rat's tails, and then from there I went right to fuzzies, and it looked like it was ovulating every time I fed it, but it hasn't had a prolapse since. It's small, but it still crushes fuzzies.
Interesting. So. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, nutrition deficiency that may be an issue. I always thought it was dehydration or lack of hydration, I should say.
Yeah. Man, they're wet. I can't keep them any wetter, to be honest. I got a sopping wet paper towel, and I miss I got the condensation built up on the front of the tote, and I miss like maybe once to twice a week.
Okay, well, it wasn't that then.
Yeah, I was getting people commenting that I'm going to get water blisters because I was keeping them so wet in the beginning.
Yeah. Well, that would be good. I wish we'd figure that one out for sure.
Matt, real quick, you got any experience with prolapses? And if you was to send an animal off, what's your definition of established?
For me, established is I mean, I could say 10 meals, but I prefer 20.
Yeah.
I want to make sure they're feeding. I want to make sure they're solid and I can feed them every time before I send them out. I have more experience with prolapses than I like. I'm pretty good at reinserting neos and adults. If I have a neo that prolapses more than twice, I will freeze it.
Wow. What's your method for restoring, for pushing it back in?
For the smaller neos, I'll use a large probe with a mixture of antibiotic and hemorrhoid cream,
Preparation H cream.
and I'll put a little bit of powdered sugar in that as well.
Powdered sugar. Okay, what's that? Confectioner sugar?
Yeah.
Is that what the label is?
Yes, and I do that rather than regular sugar because I feel like it makes a better paste and it's a little easier to dissolve in that. But that's just me.
So you said you think you think it's from hydration.
Well,
How are the neos that you experienced prolapses with? How were they kept compared to the ones that didn't? Or what was the difference that you saw?
There was no rhyme or reason at first that I saw, and then I realized that I was getting a prolapse when I would forget to spray.
Okay.
And then I went all over the board. I trying to figure out what was wrong. I thought maybe too big of a meal, hydration, and I still don't know. Really still don't know. I like the nutrition angle. It'd be nice to prove that out. That way, it'd help a lot of people if that was the case.
Yeah.
It'd be good to know.
Yeah,
But,
Matt, I really think that Travis is onto something with the whole switching over to fuzzies. And I think to add to that is, have you ever had a neo prolapse that was bumped up to even a peach fuzzy, or were they still in the red hot or couple day old pinky stage? Have you ever had anything that was bumped up that prolapsed?
No, I have not. It was all pinkies, and I've heard many people say that as soon as you can feed that neo an animal with fur on it, the better. So there may be something to it.
I'm an advocate for it now. Travis was like, "Dad," in my ear, and I was like, "Shut up, Dad. Come on." And then I
was
did it.
not like that. I told you like 2 times, and you just like, I want to do what I want to do. So,
but I did what you said.
That's usually how
And I will
it
say,
goes.
and listen,
yeah,
I'll
How it goes
argue
with
with you and tell you you're fucked up till my face is blue. But I will say you are very smart with the polyvsol, sir, and you're very smart with the bumping up the fuzzies thing. And I really think that you're changing the game a little bit because I'm a fucking advocate for your ideas now because they work for me.
any neo I ever bought,
I'll give you the credit, sir.
I never fed a pinky. I think
I
I probably
appreciate
bought
you.
like 5 pinkies in my life.
Yeah, I've done the polyvsol on the adult when I feed them. I inject the mice with a little bit of extra calcium and that polyvsol. But I have not done it with the neos. That's interesting.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
still
so
do it with the adults. It boosts size, like,
Yeah.
and I only like doing it like once they hit a year, because before then I don't necessarily know if their organs are at a place where they can handle, processing that.
Right.
But I also give a lot of extra water to mitigate that.
You got to be careful with that
you do.
dosage on those neos, though, I bet.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
you gotta.
and
It's a real low dosage.
Yeah, I bet.
it was such a small animal. Like I mean, when it was if I had let it go for another week or two without eating, I don't know that it would have gone in the correct direction. I think it would have started to decline. And living on dry paper towel with no perch for 3 weeks after inserting it, I just thought, this thing's is not going to wrap something up. So that's what I really did. Is I just took I probably only got like 0.2 mLs in it, but something was better than nothing.
Yeah, I got you. That makes sense.
And you told Travis about the polyvsol? Did you tell Travis about the polyvsol or no?
It was my vet.
Oh, okay, okay.
It was my vet.
So is his
probably
dosage the same as yours, Trav? Because y'all talk more than
my dosage is 0.25 milliliters.
for 10 mils of water, right?
Yeah, point is point. It's point. Was it 0.025? So is 0.25 of a 1 milliliter syringe.
Yeah.
And Matt, what is yours?
I don't remember. I've not done neos. I've done adults, and I don't remember the dosage. But I got my original information on that from Harlan Wall.
Now, do you use specifically the one without iron?
I don't think mine had iron in it. It's been a
Yeah.
couple of years since I've done that. I don't do it anymore.
Okay.
Since let me put it this way: I haven't done it since 2020. I think that's when I did my last time. So it's been a little
You
while.
remember if it was purple label or the green label?
I feel like it was purple, but I can't be sure.
Okay.
Come on, that lean.
Which one is that?
The green label's with iron, and the purple label is with iron.
Okay, well, I think it was purple. So it was
Okay.
with her. Must
Yeah,
be.
me and Travis have been using the
walk
green
hard.
label stuff.
Okay.
You said we've been using Wacky.
Yo, the wacky. The walk hard.
So we got some more
What are you
questions.
drinking, Matt?
And the questions.
Shot a box.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Kenny,
That is a
Kenny,
classic
tell me
atmosphere. I
Spike
like it.
Adams. Tell me Spike Adams, man.
So we got a question coming up from Vivid. We'll get to Dee Dee's next.
Yeah, let's get to the questions. My fault. We interjected.
So Justin, hey man, before I read your question, Justin, man, I hope you're doing well, man. I know you're in the hospital, man. Take care of yourself, my brother. So this
Man,
question
from the
was how
hospital
many.
bed. Damn, thanks, Justin. Thanks for
Yeah,
checking
we
in.
love you. We love you, Justin. How many generations would a breeder need before he can call a certain look his line or a designer line?
It's got the trait has to be repeatable. So I would say F2s. That would be pushing it. F3s would be better.
Yeah, I was gonna say F3s. It's usually at around the F3. That's when you see it.
Yeah.
You got enough clutch size, sample
Yeah.
size.
Yeah, two would be pushing it, but three would be if you're going to do that. That's the generation I would say. Hey, that's my line.
So would you say that is like 3 generations of the same parents breeding?
Yes. If you had the
Okay.
same results from 3 times in a row, well, I mean, if the offspring did that from that first pairing, that would be the F1s. So the next generation that they produce would be F2. So I mean, it's a long process with
Yeah.
green trees. Yeah, F2s would be the minimum I would think. I guess it depends on how cocky you want to be.
And Matt, would you prove that out with sib to sib or offspring back to parent to line breed it, or would you throw something else in there that's not related?
I would. I mean, to prove it out, I would do both.
Okay.
I really would.
See if it's something as powerful as like what Pedro's doing with Calico.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, not Calico. Mosaic.
Mosaic. Yeah. Yep.
But Mosaic was outcrossed though. Mosaic, he put Mosaic to a root. He didn't line breed it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not. Well, it's powerful as shit. Then if you didn't have to do that.
He bred it. He bred it 2 in a row.
Mosaic's not alive anymore, if I'm not mistaken, and he only has offspring from him, but he hasn't had.
I think if I'm not mistaken, I think it has some Dr. Van Meer blood in it.
Yeah, it may. Very well may.
So we got the next question from Dee Dee, who is confused on which to feed, mice or rats.
Okay.
I say rats.
Team rats.
Okay. And why?
Because I feed really big prey items not very often to my larger animals. I feel like if I'm going to not feed them as often, they got to have something big.
I feed rats.
That's valid. Yeah.
I would say rats because the babies seem to change quicker when you feed them rat pinkies. They seem
size or color?
Size and color.
Okay.
And I've only seen it once, but from what I've seen with rat pinkies is that they move out of that baby looking thing, like how they perch and move around as babies. But once you start giving them rat pinkies, they start behaving more like adults.
You notice it in the neck too, and it's always in the neck at the
Yeah.
base of the head area. That started to
I got.
spawn.
I've been trying to get rat pinkies from my my local guy. He friggin' offered it to me, and then said he had a bunch of big buyers. I said no. At a 2-day like relapse, I was like, shit, I need feeders, and then I called him, and now I missed out on rat pinkies. So I kind of screwed up. I'm back to feeding fuzzies.
You snooze, you lose.
So
I fucked up.
on the topic of less often do you feed, what is your feeding schedule?
So my
no, you go ahead, Chuck.
so my adult females are every 3 weeks, and then the males are right around that. And if they're really hunting, I'll give it to them every 3 weeks. But realistically, it's like every 3.5, 4 weeks for my males now. Like it really depends. Like the females' feeding schedule changed. Like my one that bred upstairs, I fed her a little bit more often, smaller meals that were rats. But as a comfortable meal, that they haven't. So my adult upstairs, my one adult that hasn't bred yet, she's only getting it every 4 weeks, and she's getting a pretty damn big meal as opposed to her size. She's a tiny little thing at 450 grams, almost 5 years old.
Wow.
And she's getting like a larger small rat.
Uh-huh.
And she looks, you could definitely see it in her stomach, but that's what she's getting now. And she'll be paired probably as soon as the male that she decided to have a domestic with recovers. So,
so when you feed them, is she cruising at all?
So she is cruising quite often. I keep my animals daytime temperatures 83 in the hot spot. Nighttime drop at the hot spot goes to 78, and that's year round. I feel like the temperature gets them moving more than me feeding them, because when I was trying to get her up to size, I was feeding her every time she took a dump.
Okay. Yep.
But now that she's up to breeding weight, I don't want to overfeed her. Talking to Socrates, he said if I feed her too much, I'll cause her to slug out. So I've greatly slowed that down, and she won't gain. She just won't get any bigger. I can't make her gain more than 450 grams. It's crazy. I was feeding her. Sometimes she was getting 2 weaned rats in a week because she was defecating so much, and she was not putting on a single.
Them old school breeders are put in the freezer. Straight up.
I'll get it. Listen, I'll get a small clutch out of her. Listen, small.
They be like,
just like 6'1" women had babies. So
that's like a small meal.
She's tiny, man. She's so fucking little, but she's healthy. She's proportionate.
I do agree with that philosophy that I think that you can feed them a lot more readily up to the adult size, and then you got to back off.
Yep. Those first 2 years, I think, are critical in feeding, especially when they're burning fat, really metabolism fast.
Yep. And I honestly, I'm all over I do mostly mice because that's what I breed, but I will supplement with rats, and I will, not big ones, but like weanlings. And then I will also occasionally throw in a chick or two here and there.
Oh, okay. That's different.
So my male Biak, he only eats chicks for the most. He'll eat rats, but he only wants everything live. So he's a pain in the ass to take care of.
Doom?
Yeah, Doom's a fucking asshole, man. He'll never stop being an asshole. Something happened to his eye. I guess. Yeah, I think he got bit by a rat, but he seems like he's perfectly fine. And I'll say that now until his eye falls out of his face. But I don't know. He seems fine. But we'll get to the next question. We got a question from Sam, representing Morelia Militia. Do you feel switching over to feed cycling gave you a better success rate with your clutches than relying on temp cycling?
I think it's more consistent. Yes, I do.
I know Sam's a big fan of.
My only success was with food cycling. with food and temp. So I gotta go with what I was successful with.
I don't have a whole lot of time under my belt with food cycling to give you a fair answer, but I think it's gonna be that way. I mean, so far I really like it, and the average of hit or missing. I think it's more hits with the food cycling than it was with the temperatures.
Okay.
Okay. So we got a question from Tradesman Exotics. What do you look for in holdbacks, especially the yellow ones?
That's a tough one.
Hey, you gotta let me know about the yellow ones because I got some black pearl line stuff over here. So
okay, yeah.
let me know.
With that one, I don't know. That one's going to be tough. You really have to have a couple of, or at least one clutch that be from the same parents as you raise them up and watch them. I know that when I picked out a really, Mark Hager has him right now, but Sundance was one that I got from Kim Burge, the Southern Chondros. And when I was looking
She
for
just
that,
recently had a clutch. She just got back in.
yeah, I saw that. So the clutch she had with the same parents, I think the year before, she had progression pictures. She had Neos and then the changelings with some of them. And I went back through those pictures and studied them all. And when I picked mine from that clutch, the one that had the widest Neo pattern on it turned out to be the yellowest. And the one I picked, I did that, and I don't know if you've seen Sundance, but he's in Mark's collection now.
Yeah, Sundance is fire.
It's a spectacular animal.
Yeah.
But I lucked out on that one, and I was able to judge what it would look like from previous clutches, pictures I saw from that. But that's what you're going to have to do, at least some of them. I know some of the sarongs, if they have a big, wide, bold baby pattern on them, they're going to have a lot more blue in them typically. Blue lines, I don't have much experience picking those. I haven't dealt with enough of them, so.
I've got some sarongs with some big, thick dorsal patterns.
Yeah. I think those are going to have a lot more blue on them than the other ones. That's my guess. Okay.
So let's go to the next one. That's not really a question, but sometimes you can get them to drink. That's not a question either, because we do know that you look like Spice Adams. What's the next question? Mikey Marsh.
Spice Adams joke.
Mikey Marsh wants to know, what's your favorite designer line?
Designer line?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got another dumbass
whatever you
question
consider, whatever you consider a line is.
I really like the lemon tree line.
Yes, that's my line too. The lemon tree, baby.
Some of that Sedgwick County Zoo line stuff. Houston Zoo had some really, really good stuff. I think that line is pretty much gone, unfortunately. But the Houston Zoo line has some nice high yellow stuff.
Denver Zoo's did too.
But if I had to guess, I think lemon tree line would be my first pick.
My man.
What about you, Trav? Because I agree with Justin from Vivid Scales. I'm a Glazer line fan. If I'm gonna go with designer,
yeah, Glazers are nice. Yeah.
Oh God, they're so
my
nice.
My favorite line is Blue Line. I just don't necessarily know if I want a Blue Line animal. I like looking at them. That's my favorite line. Is Blue Line stuff. The actual Blue Line stuff, not the stuff that people have been running around here saying, "Oh, it's a Blue Line." Like now, like the actual, like when I go through MVF and look at and search Blue Line, like some incredible animals. Like really, like those were some animals I really wanted when I first got into it in 2015.
Mr. Blue, Carolina. There's a lot. There's some really nice
Tiger, Joan Collins, all those animals.
I love Tucker's question, man. Make sure you get that up on the board.
Yeah, we got a question from Alum. who is a young Texas baller right now.
Come on, Alex. What the fuck?
And the protege
Alum,
of Bill
alum, alum,
Stiegel,
alum.
the apprentice of Bill Stiegel.
Ah,
We hate you, Alum.
You don't have to answer that if you don't want to. Right? We can keep moving along.
You can just say the ones they sell at Petco.
Spider. That's his favorite.
All right, so we're gonna move on to Tuck. Tuck's question is, Matt, when it comes to pairing animals, is there a certain size you're trying to reach, or do you prefer to go off age?
I go off age.
Yeah.
Because if you have an animal that's 450 grams and 2 years old, I wouldn't do that. But if she's 450 grams and she's 4 or 5 years old, I'd do it.
So what's your what? Females are 5 and males what? 3?
Shit, I've had males go at 2.
Okay.
Wow.
But that male Sundance, he did not breed. He did not breed till he was 6 years old.
Okay.
And I tried him at 3. So yeah, it was weird. Some males will do that.
He showed no interest at 3, or was he locking and you just didn't get anything?
No interest at all.
Okay.
3, 4, 5, took him to 6. And I tried him on the same female. So yeah.
You didn't get anything from him, and then
Nothing.
Okay. All right.
Nothing. Didn't even try.
Shout out to Alex, by the way. I got a killer mail coming in that is in the mail right now that'll be here tomorrow morning from him.
We still hate you, Alan.
That animal's a freaking awesome.
The next question, man.
I think that's it for questions. Oh, Tradesman had a question that was in here. What about African soft furs?
I breed those now, and I still do feed them. Yep. I don't. I just started the colony, so I don't have anything feeding size right, but I use them on my colubrids all the time. But yeah, I love them.
Hey Matt, I've actually found 2. I got 2 of my Neos actually started on ASF pinkies, and yeah. I think because of the direction of the hair, it almost like gets secured in their mouth a little bit better. Like it gets caught like Velcro, and they've actually both. One was an assist feed that took it, and then had started feeding afterwards, and then one, just took it as a regular prey item, and then that's what I got them to start off of.
Kind of the same principle as a rat tail or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
I like it. Yeah. Cool.
So we got another question from Justin, who all laid out. Did you have any undocumented designer lines, snakes you knew were designer but didn't have documentation?
No, I never went that route. And usually when you get those, you're buying them. You're getting from secondhand or third-hand people that have had them, or don't keep good records, something like that. That's been my experience. I made a point of knowing where my animals came from, and I usually had the lineage.
Mm-hmm.
We got another question from
You can be asked no OG that stuff like that, Justin.
I mean, people. I mean,
they ain't play that in the NBA.
I guess it's possible.
They ain't play that in the NBA.
I guess
it's definitely more.
It's a possible scenario.
It's definitely more.
No, it's possible. I'm just messing around. That's possible.
So, Tucky Tuck's question is: do you keep your new Neos at the same temps as adults, or is there a temp difference you keep at? I know back in the day they said Neos should be kept warmer, like 86.
My Neo racks are. Yeah, I keep them at 85 on the back side, and then I let them regulate. And most of the time they spend halfway to the front, or at the very front. When I feed them, they typically will go to the back. I give them a range, like all my animals, they get a range. And I do night drops on my Neos as well.
I just started doing that.
To what temperature on the hot side at night?
7-degree drop from 85.
Okay, so 80.
My
78,
78.
What?
70. That's the exact same tip I have mine set at because I turned them up a little bit. So they're 85 to 78. I like the 78 temp drop.
Yeah.
I remember with my first one, I was having the second one. I was having issues with it grounding itself, and Mr. Joe Sutowski, the person I bought it from, said give it a night drop around 79, 78. And this animal was like maybe a year old. So I just thought that was a suitable tip to use.
Wow, something positive from Joe. Whoops, did I say that? Oh, sorry.
Hey, you want to know something? I'll tell you my Joe story too. Like,
Hey,
so,
Uh-oh.
no, he
Uh-oh.
said, hold on. No, he said, rest up, Justin. Hey, he ain't dead yet. No, he ain't dead yet.
so the female that laid my first clutch, Joe sold
Hey,
me that
Matt
snake,
funny as hell, man.
but he sold it to me as a male.
Uh, Not surprising. That happens very often, actually.
I called Keno when it happened, and he was just like, "What the fuck, man?"
Yeah. Yeah. No, that shit happens all the time. I mean, I got
At least
my
he got
first.
it. At least he was. At least she was alive. Shit.
Yeah.
Damn.
Damn, you guys are assing me.
Damn.
Uh,
Randy gonna
I
tell us
mean,
to stop.
you have to live under a rock to not know this type of stuff.
yeah.
So we got
My
another
first.
question from
Yeah, go ahead.
Sam. Have you had any of your females go at a male in a feeding response? And if so, what did you change to prevent that from happening again?
Oh yeah, definitely. That's when I used to try to feed them when they were together. I separate the feed now. I don't try to feed most of my females, especially after food cycling. They're hungry and they want to eat,
Yeah.
and it's probably a more intensive feeding response. So I don't even do that anymore. I separate the male and I feed them both separately, and then I'll put them back together.
How long you wait before you put them back?
Um, Depends on the activity. If they're not showing any interest, I can go 2 weeks before I put them back together just to see. If they're constantly, breeding, maybe a week. There's not really any rhyme or reason to it, but a
Okay.
longer time if they're not showing interest, a shorter amount of time if they are.
I do 4 on, 3 off with breeding. 4 days on, 3 off,
Mm.
regardless of. Yeah, I mean, as long as they're breeding, but regardless of the feeding, like that day that I take them out, they got 3 days to digest it and they go back in.
Yeah, that's basically what I do. I go a week like that just because it's easier for me with my work schedule. It's easier to do it on the weekend. So yeah.
So we got another question from Tradesman, aka Runes Daddy. Do you scent shed new couples or just throw them in together? I think what he
But
means is do you
you
swap
said
out the
who's daddy?
sheds?
Who?
Runes Daddy. Tradesman has that baller ass snake Rune.
Um,
Okay.
I've never had to do that. I think that if I have a female shed, that I will leave it in there when I put the male in. And I know some people will even throw a male shed in the same cage
I do
to
that.
try to help the breeding process along. I've never had to do that, but I know people who do. So yeah.
So what?
Hmm.
Y'all quit asking questions now. Oh, damn, they ran out of
How
questions. That's
about
crazy.
wait? If they don't want to ask any questions, let's switch it up. How about Matt asks us questions?
Uh, just
All right. Well, I don't know what you guys work with, so
he doesn't care.
Jeff, why don't you start? What do you work with? I mean,
Let's go.
green
Yeah, go
chicken,
around. I guess we can go around. Go ahead.
yeah,
Go ahead, Tuck.
Only Chondros.
only chondros. Okay.
I got one carpet python upstairs, but she's getting sent out next week. So, but only
All right.
Chondros.
All right.
So now
Do
you
you
fucking
like,
ass clowns want to ask questions now.
And I got 4 new ones coming tomorrow, all adults. So
so
all
are
over.
you choosing a line? Are you a blue line? Are you yellow line? What are you doing?
So
Locale?
I want to take locality crosses and create just lime green snakes with no other color scales other than heavy blue going down the back. I don't want no black, no white scales, no nothing. I just want lime
Okay.
green snakes, just that like classic example of a sarong or a maniquari. You know, anything at just a
Yeah.
either a poultry or uteranus animal, just clean neon green and the lime green and neon blue is
Nice.
what I'm
Yeah.
focusing on.
That's a great
So
look. Yeah. It's awesome.
yeah, it's I think it's easily replicated. It's not like you got to just sit there and wait for the change to happen. You could basically predict what's going to happen
Yep.
from the babies from the neos, seeing what the pattern looks like, and
I think
whatever I make.
Yep.
It'll be consistent. I'll be able to get out what I want, but I really want to work with red neo poultry animals, but I got to work up to that. So they are hard to find. They're expensive when you do.
Yeah. I think there's some Jayas like that too, right?
Yeah. I wouldn't mind working with Jayas. I mean, they're a smaller snake, but I'm okay with it. I think they look sexy as hell.
Yeah. Cool.
Trav, what you working with?
I'm working with trying to figure out when I can go to sleep and not deal with babies all the time. So, I got 19 Sarong Neos. That is my priority.
Yeah.
I guess that whenever these 19 animals they decide to all get on the same train, I want to breed my Maroke Biak Knoll to my Cyclops and do another cross because I want to see if I can get his melanistic scales, his black scales on her super weird green
Nice.
with blue. That's what I want to see if I can accomplish. So if I got those babies, all those babies would be held back a long time to see because they would be double red. So that would take some time to prove out because I like his green too. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the plans. Eventually, like I want to do sarong crossing, a sarong clutch with one of my sarongs and a new male one because the male is a red sarong. So I want to see what I can get out of that.
Yeah, that black will stay with those reds a lot easier than it does the yellows.
Yeah, that's what I've heard before.
I don't know about that one. I don't know.
That's
I've
cool,
heard-
Trav. So your Maroki Biak was a red neo, so you got Maroki blood and a red neo.
Yeah,
That's cool.
he was actually dark red, like maroon brownish.
And
Yeah,
that's the
they
sibling.
were like chocolate.
That's the sibling to Kinos.
Yeah, and the Cyclops was also a
Glitch.
darker red too, from what I was told.
Nice.
And me, so I'm really working with 3 things over here. I got the yellow stuff, man. I'll never be able to leave yellow neos alone, especially designer stuff. And my lemon tree stuff going. So I got the J line I'm working with. I got a female that was yellow neo. That she like 65-70% black.
Black?
Yeah,
Wow.
from the Black Pearl line.
Okay.
I got her from Lecky, from John Lecky. Yep.
Yeah.
She's a 22,000 animal, so I got a couple more years before her.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put her to that.
Nice stuff. Golly.
Yeah, you gotta pay though. You gotta pay. Goddamn, man. Like I see why you didn't do that. But I'm gonna put her to the sibling to Travis. And we're gonna do something with that. And then I got some heavy artifact blood.
Okay.
Some artifact cross with some sarong stuff I got on the back burner. And then I got the pure Cyclops thing going. I want to make my Cyclops consists of all red neos.
Yeah.
And I just want to make nice ass Cyclops.
There's not many people doing that. Yeah, those are nice. I
That's what I want to be known for. I want to make my own line of Cyclops. So it's gonna take me some years to do that.
Yeah.
I'm in there for the long haul though. So
Cool. Very awesome.
kind of salty, man, because my first clutch I lost a generation of Cyclops. It was a tier one last year. With 15 eggs. Yeah.
That's a
You know,
setback.
I took them first time lumps, but you know, I learned.
Yeah, school of hard knocks, man. That's how you learn.
You know, you know how it goes.
So we got questions now. Mikey Marsh, he wants to know what type of incubator you run and what is your egg box setup.
Okay. I have done every chondro that I've ever produced out of a 110 quart igloo cooler. No fan.
Wow, just like Pat.
Fucking legend.
Well, Pat has a fan.
Nope. I don't even run a fan. I've got water bottles in the bottom for a heat sink. And then I've got, I'll run an egg box with the light diffuser grid over Paralight, and then I'll soak that. And on top of that, I'll run I put the eggs in a deli cup, just a straight deli cup, no substrate. Put the eggs in that. I'll put a lid on that, and I'll put that on top of the light diffusion grid that is in the Paralight, and then I'll put a lid on top of that. And they all have air holes in them. Not a lot, just enough for them to breathe. But I have found that gives me a lot more control of the moisture. And I do have a little bit of water in the main incubator, but I will, the egg box is where most of that moisture will come from. That way there's no drying out possible.
So how do you keep the airflow in there with no fan?
I will pop the lid every other day or so, and where the drain plug, I take it out and I run my wires through that, so there's actually airflow from underneath.
Okay.
There's some air exchanging anyway, and then when I check the lid, I will open it up and let that happen.
Wow, so you don't even have the plexiglass like false lid on it, just so you can check.
Nope.
You have nerves of steel, my friend.
I've never had an issue.
That's crazy.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it, man.
I think that the way people treat chondro eggs is a little over the top sometimes. I think they're a little more forgiving than people let them, think they are. Under certain conditions, there can be extremes, but for the most part, yeah. I mean, if there's a small temperature fluctuation for 5 or 10 minutes, I don't think that's going to be a big deal.
Well, I mean, that's news to us because nobody in this generation seems to be doing it that way.
Yeah.
But that's what we wanted to know. that's really what we wanted to know.
Yeah.
Because you got a tried and true method.
Yeah. I mean, I've never, again, I've had several 100% hatch rates, and I've had some that have crashed. So, I don't think it's due to anything that the incubator's doing. I think it's, something within the eggs, or a female or male. Who knows?
And your recent clutches, you didn't have any Wi-Fi, like temperature hygrometer receivers? Nothing?
Nope. I've got 2 certified lab grade thermometers in there, and then I've got just a battery powered thermometer in the closet with incubator in it. So just so I can know what the ambient temperature of the room is.
It's funny the difference between like the generations. Like Matt, my incubator would text me when shit was fucked up by 0.2 of a degree when I was at work.
That's just living an action movie. He's one of those guys in action movies that pick up a gun off the ground and just shoot it and hit right on target. He's just doing it.
Yeah, I thought about getting a better incubator, but it works. I'm gonna stick with it. So
Shit.
That's awesome. So we got another
Yeah.
question from Tuck. Aside from Sundance, have you experienced pairs that just aren't compatible? And if so, did you try a different male, or do you keep pairing until they eventually breed or show interest? And he's got a second part to this question. Oh, and what point would you write that pairing off and stop trying? Sam, we'll get to your next question. We're gonna do your next questions after that.
I used to, yeah. I have put females and males together, and sometimes I will deem them not compatible for that year. I'll put it in there, and that female will run and she'll spray urates all over the cage. Um, she'll go down and ground herself. If the male is real aggressive, he will follow her. But there have been, whether breed on the ground, they breed right there on the ground. But I have had a few that
Gotta get it in.
they just won't. They're just not there. So I'll pull them. I usually know that within the first. I'll introduce my animals probably late morning or noonish, just because I want to give them time when I can watch them, and during the day when there's not a heavy feeding response possible. You know. But if they're not compatible, it's pretty easy to tell, I think. I will pull them, and I will. In some years, I've tried another male, and I'll try that one the following year. And sometimes I get the same result, and it's just not that male and female. They're not compatible, so I'll find another male for it. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I got another question, a follow-on question. So, do you think that when females spray urates, they want that male out of there immediately?
I think so, just by the body language and her actions. But like I said, I think that if you have a pretty dominant, horny ass male, he's gonna try to jump on it. She may or may not let him. Who knows?
Well,
Like a snake
that
rape.
makes a lot of sense.
The snake rapist.
Yeah,
They're the
That
best
makes a lot of
breeders, man.
sense.
Just being honest.
So we got another question
maybe she's
from
not ready.
Sam.
Maybe
It's a
she's not.
two-part question. What's your? Yeah, I think that that's true. Like, and that kind of happened with me the first year I tried to breed, and the female was just like, "Get him the fuck out of here." And then next year, she was just like, "Oh, let me love him." And then I separated them. I brought them back together while I was cleaning cages, and they were near each other. And she lost her mind. She wanted to get back to her boo.
Right.
I was just like, you didn't like him. You didn't like his ass the first year, and now that's your man. So we got a question from Sam. Favorite locality crossing in the second part, and how much of the outcrossing do you feel had play in our designer lines now?
If I were to do it outcross, I think the coolest results that I've seen, Arubiak. I think there's some really
Especially
cool
the
results.
F2s. The F2s on those are nice.
Yeah. If I was going to do, what was the second part of the question? I'm sorry.
How much of a role do you think the outcrossing played into designers?
I think it's a good thing. You can come up with definitely different design, different colors and patterns and stuff like that. I think that it's also good for the genes and the bloodline. So I'm a big fan of outcrossing.
Cool.
Y'all ain't got no more questions after that? Well, I guess we probably got more questions. And get into that as far as designer lines. Oh, go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that I've got. I'm just going to do a shameless plug. I've got. I need a purebred Maruki female. If anybody knows of one. I've got a one male. They're hard to come by. The Marukis are hard to come by.
You got a male? You got a male pure Maroke?
Yeah, I do. I need a female.
Wow.
Go ahead, Trav.
Wow.
Fuck.
Go ahead, Trav. The floor is
It's
yours,
too
Travis.
late, baby.
We are waiting
Nah,
to
it's
hear how this
too
pans
late.
out.
Matt, we're gonna have a conversation after this with another person.
Sounds good. That's what I'm talking about.
Hell no. I mean, what's the chance of that plug?
Wow, that was
Matt, we're gonna have a
Oh,
conversation after
it was
this.
like it was meant
that's
to be.
hilarious. Hey, Mister want to ask long ass questions? That's what you get tonight.
Yeah.
That's what you get. Ask some questions in the comments. That's what you get. That's what you
I
get.
just want to put it out there.
That's what your purple ass get.
That's what your purple ass gets, Tuck. Yeah, Matt, we're gonna talk after this.
All right.
Uh,
Sounds good, man.
Oh shit! The purple ass get.
fuck.
The purple rain, motherfucker.
All right.
Matt,
I think
man, this has been a pleasure, Matt. We really, really appreciate you
Yeah.
hopping on,
No, it's been fun,
Yeah.
man. It's been fun.
dropping this knowledge, man. Especially me, man, because I can get real geeky and nerdy with the lineage stuff, probably over the top. Because I sat there through them days reading about it and reading and reading, and you know what I'm saying.
I can't recall a lot of it in my head, but I've got it all in files. So yeah, anytime you have a question, man, just let me know.
I definitely
Wow.
will. I'm gonna hit you up because you was in your bag tonight, man. You pulled up the lineage charts, you was going, man. We really appreciate stuff like that. Again, especially me, man. That lineage stuff, it do something to me.
I'm here to help, man. I'm here to help.
I'm glad you finally came through to the bar, Matt. I mean, I still appreciate you for everything you did.
For sure.
I remember when Mr. Deal referred me to you, and I was just like, wow, this guy really knows everything. And then Mark was telling me, he was just like, yeah, you need to talk to Matt. And I was just like, okay. And it all worked out. Even with my second clutch, your information about trying to save those few eggs, it actually did work.
Awesome.
So I appreciate you. I really do appreciate you.
I'd love to help, and I'm grateful that you guys let me on here. I appreciate it.
Oh, we're happy to have you. We don't get to talk to too many legends. We got somebody else that
Yeah.
which
We're
just
pretty good at convincing royalty to hang out with the peasants. I said that.
Man.
Tell the story.
You know? For real.
We all got a common goal here, man. It's all good.
Yeah.
Well, it's like me and Keno, we've talked about this before, and it wasn't on the subject of you. It's like we came up watching the MVF. Like we had to go and look at it. And I remember when I got my first Chondro, I used to read MVF posts and I'd be like, oh, I ain't saying shit in here. They mean as hell. And then Facebook was way worse. Facebook was way worse.
Yep.
But I remember looking at it and I was just like, man, these guys have some detailed information. And just like some of it's almost just like peer-reviewed articles, like when you read the MVF.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't really have that anywhere else because you don't get that in a Facebook post or Instagram post. And that, like, besides the two books we have, as much as you say that this information may be outdated, the MVF has so much valuable information that it's crucial that all of us go back and
It's
read
like a
those
home
posts.
book.
Yeah, well, a lot of, they won't do that though. A lot of these youngsters won't go back and dig it up. They want you to tell them what it is.
I love it.
I
still love it.
Yep. There's information out there. You just got to go get it.
Yeah, for
especially
sure
especially information about snakes that you are never ever going to see again.
Yeah.
Like it's chondros, like we think we have it made now, and I guess it's true. But looking at some designers that were produced, people produce some cool designers, but they aren't the same designers that were produced, and they're not any better or worse. They're just very different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We still got a long way to go within the chondro husbandry knowledge. I think we still need a lot to learn here.
Yeah. Too bad these things aren't like ball pythons.
It's good to see how it's changed, though. It's good to see it's overall though it's good to see where we at a knowledge base. As far as um, accessories that we use, up into caging, up into our knowledge of Nido, how that's expanded and we got tested now as opposed to back then it was just damn, how many clicks does it have? Does it has a respiratory infection? So
Yep.
it's good to see that with the changes and also with the bullshit that Facebook has implemented.
Yep.
It's still you can still find things that's changed that definitely for the better in the Green G Pod documentary, man.
You know, there's something to be said. You know, people get on here and they always talk about different ways to do things, and sometimes they get raked over the coals. But unless somebody is willing to try some different things, we're not going to learn anything. You know, it
Yep.
may work, may not work, but we're not going to progress unless we try new things.
Yep.
Yeah. We got Chuck over here doing experiments like Professor from Flubber and shit.
I'm just trying new shit. That's all. I'm applying positive theory.
We got a research and development team.
Listen, you know what?
We put
To
liquid
touch
paper
on
on the
that-
B. It
To
died.
touch on that, Matt, we had
Proceed,
somebody in here that had an
worldwide.
RI from an adult female they just got,
Yeah,
and I use an ozone, an O3 generator. Have you ever heard of that?
I have. Yes.
So I use that on RIs for my snakes, and like everyone like just wrote me off. He tried it, and he just pumped the hose into the enclosure and treated his snake aerosol with the O3, and it eliminated the RI. It's done.
Okay. More than I mean, that's awesome. I love it. But is it repeatable?
I mean, it's worked for me twice. It worked for him once, and I have studies of like papers written that are like tried on humans with COVID that are outside the U.S. because the U.S. it's banned, and I can send you the PDFs for that. And then vet offices using it on like dogs and cats, like pumping it into their.
Wow. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shit like that. Unless you try it, we're not going to learn it.
I got a question for Chuck though. I want to know your take on this because you said it earlier. I didn't know it was 4, but with 4 snakes coming in, like how are you gonna quarantine?
These are empty.
Okay. And those aren't in the same room with your other ones?
What?
Those aren't. You're not in your basement?
No, the main snake room's upstairs. This is the display.
Okay.
This is how I was going to handle the quarantine for 3 of them, and then the one that's coming from Pat will go up in the main room, and I'll keep it in a separate enclosure. But
okay, I don't know if you're gonna put them all 4 in different places. And,
no. Quarantine for all 3 come in and are going here. I'll test them twice before I start, doing anything with them.
Okay.
I'll test them all probably tomorrow. I'm gonna test them all tomorrow. Swab them. I think Alex sent me a handful of swabs from RAL, and then I'm gonna probe the 2 females. I kind of tried to convince my father to come over to restrain a snake, but he doesn't know that he's grabbing the business end while I probe. So we'll see how that fucking goes.
Hey, if you put it in like a bag, because this is how I probed that male over there last time. I put him in a bag, and once you turn it and twist it around, they can't really move. So you got a hand. One hand is good enough, and probing only takes 2 seconds, getting it in there and seeing how far you can go and checking it. So it works pretty well. I mean, you could do it by yourself if you want to. I mean, I do it by myself, but
I have. It's just a little sketchy. I don't like because the snake's like going in the bag, it's crawling out of my hand, and then you got to like straighten out. You know what I mean? Straighten out the fuck is that called? The
the tail.
Yeah, it's the tail, but there's a freaking Rico.
The cloaca?
No, not the cloaca. The precaudal length or some shit like that. Is that what it's called?
Oh,
yeah, but you can do that with one hand. You can do that with one hand.
Yeah, but not controlling it. If they got to like put it in your armpit and then it's crawling into when you have the when
I do it on a desk.
When I've used the actual snake bag or the pillowcase, I've just found that the snake just like it goes right through my hands, right into the fucking bag. Like I can't fucking hold it. It's like my hands are sweaty or something, and it just keeps on going.
Yeah, I don't know. Works for me.
Maybe
But
I'm a pussy. Maybe I'm
he
just a
say
fucking pussy.
he say he
I don't
got sweaty hands, man. He got sweaty
know.
hands.
I do, yeah. I don't know.
You got game cast?
What? What did you just say?
You never seen Malibu's Most Wanted?
No, I don't.
Okay. He said, I got game cast, man. I can't afford it. It's never mind. You wouldn't get it. But we have
So
hit time.
how many of you guys use sheds for sexing? You ever do
Look
that?
at plugs.
I
just
did,
look for
but
plugs.
I have butterfly, and then
I've
and
never
then I
probed
probe the
it. I've
animal.
never probed anything, Matt. I've never probed anything.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I only
Matt,
wait to sex. I only
I
wait
have
to sex
butterflies
ed.
coming out of an animal, and then I probed it, and I probed it 9 ventral scales. It was a male.
All right.
Never shed
I
plugs.
I'll just wait for till I see 2 things, or if
How
I see
old
the little butterfly thing.
Yeah.
I would probably so it was an import it was an import Biak that was fully changed over. I had it for like a year and a half, so I'd imagine at least 4.
Okay.
At least it had to be at least 4 because Biaks take so long to change.
Yeah. And have you bred it?
No, it's dead.
Ah.
It's dead. Like every other male import Biak that I've gotten.
Yeah.
They're just
I mean, there's always the exceptions to the probing lengths. You know, there's a wide range of that the amount of scales that will go in or out. But yeah, interesting.
You probe, Matt?
I can. I don't typically. I usually wait for sheds.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I never did it, but
it's a patience thing. I'm not in a big hurry, so
yeah, I don't want to kink nothing. So I'm like, I just wait.
Yeah,
I wait
I
2,
think-
3, 4.
I truly think that an animal. I think an animal has to be like at least you really want to be at least 200 grams before you probe it, though.
Yeah.
Like the 100-gram thing is not okay. In my opinion, I don't think 100 grams is okay.
And I still don't think it's real accurate when they're young like that either.
Yeah, I don't.
See, I got a special case though with it. The sire to my clutch last year, Matt. I got it from Garrick DeMeyer, Royal Constrictor Designs. He's a big ball python guy, and I bought that animal 3.5 years old, and it's a 2016 male. Pre-breeding weight, it's 300 grams.
Wow.
And
wow.
Post-breeding weight, it's like
You see, that's that freezer wow.
And he never
Matt
shed
go in with that freezer.
He has never shed plugs, nothing, and that thing would breed a piece of rope. And he's potent because I got 13 good eggs, 1 slug out of my female.
Yeah, well, that's chondros. So it's a love-hate relationship. There's always going to be exceptions, and they're always going to piss you off.
And what's the Matt? Before we get out of here, what's the biggest male weight-wise that you've seen actively successfully breed?
In my care or just in general?
Both. Well, you could talk about in your care, I guess.
I don't think I've never personally had a male over 800 grams ever.
Right.
And I've heard of 1,000-gram males breeding, but I personally I've never dealt with that. So it's usually 600 to 800 is what I typically experience, and smaller. I've done a couple 500s. So
what about the biggest female?
I've got it. I've had in my possession 1,100 gram. It was a big Biak. I don't think I've ever had one of my designers. I had a couple close to 1,000, but never go over 1,000. But that was early in my history. I don't feed nearly as heavily as I used to.
Okay.
And as far as age-wise for females, I think I've had a 3-year-old take, but I usually wait for 4-year-olds. That's usually when I And like I said, I don't go by weight anymore. I do more by age.
Okay.
That makes me feel a little bit better with breeding my female this year.
Yeah. And like I said, males I've seen go at 2 years old, and then my example of Sundance going at 6. He didn't take off till 6 years old. So
Depends on
there's
that
a lot
male.
around in there.
So before we get out of here, there was one person who had a question that was a pretty relevant question, and it was Becca.
Okay.
And Becca didn't ask her question in here because Becca didn't remind me at all. But her question was, after seeing the things that happened,
Damn
you
it, Becca.
know, a week ago, where Fish and Wildlife in Florida euthanized some animals.
Yep.
What is your take on, the past, as far as, people acquiring animals and caring for animals, and and the government having some type of intervention in that, as to now? What have you seen and what has changed since then?
Oh, that's a loaded question. I think it's a slippery slope. I think we need regulation, but the way they're handling it is a little disturbing. I think certain species should be regulated. Back in the day, we didn't have that. But then again, there wasn't as many people with pet snakes or reptiles in general. Pet reptiles. I think they have surpassed dogs and cats as the number one pet. I believe that's what I've heard. So it's an interesting situation. I don't know all the details to that story, so I don't feel like I'm qualified to answer that. I can give you my opinion. I don't think it was right for them to do that. Knowing what I know as far as what happened, I don't think it was right. Like I said, I don't know all the details. So there may be more to it. I don't know.
So we've gone over time, and this generally happens with our legends. So we are so appreciative that you came on. Get whatever you want to get off. If you got any shout outs or anything, and then we're gonna close it off, and then I'm gonna talk to you after this.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys, and I'd like to thank everybody that was my mentor or people I learned from, all the people before me. I just like passing it along when I can. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. And again, we appreciate you you giving us your time, dropping that knowledge on those Japanese jewels.
My pleasure.
Go get your
It's been a pleasure
Maroke.
talking to you, man. It's been a pleasure meeting you because I've never spoke with you before. So
Yeah, it's the first time. Nice meeting you too.
Chuck, you gotta talk to Matt, man.
I'm going to now.
Anytime.
I'm going to get your number back. I'm going to drunk dial you at like 12 a.m. We're going to talk about lineages and.
Make sure it's on the weekend. I got to get early on the weekdays, man.
Hey, go get your Maroke, man.
All right, man.
Yeah, we gotta end this. Yo, Travis is itching, bro. Travis is like, yeah.
All right, man.
Oh,
Match
shit.
made in heaven after this.
That's
I'm looking forward to it.
hilarious.
Cool.
All right.
It's been a pleasure, y'all. Till next week. Next Tuesday, y'all, we'll be back.
And we appreciate y'all, and we appreciate you too, Matt.
Thanks, chat, man. Always keep it alive.
That's the CBR started off. Y'all have a good night.
Rock on.
Peace, y'all.